This is The Back Pass, a podcast for sports nerds by sports nerds.
On tonight's episode, we look back at the last 2 weeks of entertainment and drama dished up by the Cricket T20 World Cup. The cricket has been nail-biting, spicy, hot, fierce, and at times really, really wet. Hello and welcome to The Back Pass. I'm your host Ali Mulwala, and with me today I have Shivank, Kevin, Sid, and welcome back from his long trip, Gurpreet.
Hello, hello.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Lads, we are currently deep into World Cup season. There are currently 3 World Cups running, 2 World Cups from 2021, the Rugby League World Cup and the Women's Rugby World Cup. And we also have the T20 2022 World Cup running. And we're so close to the World Cup that we will not talk about. But last weekend, I think about half the world must have tuned in to watch what was probably some of the most anticipated games that in a calendar year. So let's start there. So the mighty Kiwis took on Jamaica in the 2021 Rugby League World Cup. So who was up to see that one?
No, not even I watched that, and I pretty much watched everything while I was in India.
That was in your time zone, Gurpreet.
I know.
To be fair, I only found out the game was on last week, so there you go.
I was joking. You know that half the world definitely tuned in to watch Australia versus New Zealand won, but definitely India versus Pakistan were the highlights last weekend. And what amazing cricket in both those matches. So let's kick us off. Gurpreet, what were your thoughts on Australia versus New Zealand?
Absolutely fantastic performance from the boys. As you guys know, New Zealand, we have a bit of a mental block when it comes to Aussie and World Cups and cricket. I just love the attitude right from the outset to take on that bowling lineup. Finn Allen, absolutely fantastic. And I just think that set the tone for the game. And without wanting to sound smug, because I know we're going to get to close finishes with the other game, but really that game wasn't even close. If we look at that Black Caps Australia game right from the outset, it wasn't close. We set the tone, we put the foot on the throat, and quite honestly, it was a hammering. Brilliant performance. Probably one of the best ever World Cup Black Cap performances.
And to be fair, like New Zealand backed it up as well. I think both their wins so far, other than the washout, both their wins have been pretty much stand-up performances.
Totally. On the evidence we have seen, and I had serious reservations going into this tournament. Our form was patchy at best. Selections were a little bit unclear. We've really had 2 statement wins. They've been very different wins. Against Aussie, it was foot on the throat from literally the first over. Sri Lanka, we were obviously on the back foot, losing the big 3 batsmen up top, and we had to consolidate and build. And I think what we've shown is the ability to win differently and to adjust. And I think it bodes well for what's going to be a very, very close tournament. Yeah,
it has. And it definitely got things going for that weekend as well. And then we had a couple of our own back pass insiders at MCG for the India versus Pakistan. Sid, Shivank, how was that experience?
Whew. Shivank, I think I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever watch a better match in my life, and I don't think I'll see a better 6 in my life than the one Virat Kohli hit straight over Haris Rauf's head. I don't think there's going to be anything better than that.
We were always going to talk about
also-
that 6.
Yeah. But also, the atmosphere at that ground is not something anyone will ever experience unless they actually make it to the MCG for an India-Pakistan game. 90,000 people. The support was maybe 65-35, 70-30 in terms of in India's favor. But boy, was there an atmosphere. I lost my voice for the next couple of days. Yeah. It's only Wednesday that I could speak again. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was my second India-Pakistan game. I watched the first one, Champions Trophy, the one India won, in Birmingham, which was a perfect setting for India-Pakistan, given, Birmingham is sort of, evenly split between the two nationalities. India won that game. Again, the atmosphere was brilliant, but only 40,000 people. So, when you say 40,000, the noise levels are a lot higher for 40,000 as well. But the MCG was different for so many reasons. A, it was World Cup. B, bigger stadium. I think one of the best, if not the best, in the world.
Yeah.
The atmosphere, Shivank and I think pretty much got there at the same time. There was DJ playing outside. There was, you name it, everything was there.
Everything you can imagine, yeah.
The vibe was there, the noise was there, and you just get sucked into the atmosphere, and you want to be a part of it. You got 70,000 Indians singing the national anthem. It was just beautiful, and because of the highs and lows of the game, the way the game actually flowed, the Indian crowd went silent after 10 overs, 45 for 4. He thought it's the end of it, but then India sort of got back into the game, and then last over pretty much had everything.
Yeah.
Including I almost fainted at the end of it because the excitement got too much for me. And you ended up hugging people you didn't even know because the game was so bloody brilliant,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but look, it's a game you remember forever. Someone said the other day, that's when the World Cup started. That's when the World Cup ended.
Pretty smart.
It was just that level of game. And to have my son with me to experience this level of game just made it extra special.
That's brilliant. Shivank said, if I may interject, if they wanted to make a Bollywood movie about that last over, and you had seen the movie before you watched the game, would you have believed it?
No.
No,
I wouldn't have.
No. My honest answer would have been, Bollywood, can you come up with something half decent and believable?
Yeah. I think it was a script, and if I have to add to that script, Gurpreet, it was raining a day before.
Absolutely.
It was supposed to be 90% rain the day. It did not rain until the match ended until 11:30. When we walked out of that stadium, it started raining, and then the next day it just kept raining, and the day after. That's been Melbourne.
Jeez,
so I think it was a perfectly written script. And as you said, if it was a Bollywood movie, the rain ends because the match has to happen, right? It sounds like a Bollywood movie.
You add another dimension to it, right? Who's the guy who basically saved the innings for India? The guy everyone expects it to be the hero, Virat Kohli. India's
the one who's down and out,
struggling for form for 3 years. Everybody's on his case, like he needs to retire or something. He takes a 42-day break from cricket, says he didn't hold up a bat for 30 days, comes back, plays the innings of a lifetime, and basically sees it home. Yeah, I don't think Bollywood can match this.
And the subplots are absolutely incredible. Because I guess you get clutch innings at the end in T20s all the time, but as Sid was saying, the ebbs and flows in the game, because there was multiple points in that game, and I was in India watching this. People were saying, "Oh, it's over. Just turn it off." I was literally, we were watching the game, car full of about 8 people, driving through Punjab. And at multiple points, people were like, "Okay, switch it off. It's over. What's the point? You're just eating through mobile data." But it was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible game.
Kevin, I just want to check in with you. As an Indian living in Australia, how did you take those 2 games?
Okay, so with the Australia versus New Zealand game, we briefed over it, but that batting collapse was a bit shocker. And to be honest, the vaunted Australian bowling attack on that pitch has 200 odd. I don't think another team's put up 200. So that was a bit of a misfire on the Australian front. Hopefully they can catch back up and it won't be them knocked out in the group stage. On the Indian versus Pakistan game, I have to make a bit of admission. After Sky got out, I went and took a shower and my dad turned off the TV. I went downstairs and just flicked it back on because I had a feeling that if Kohli was in there, there was a chance. And there was that sixth sense, like every Indian supporter would have, that if Virat Kohli is playing, there is a chance that he's going to win, especially against Pakistan. And
actually, the same feeling everyone had in the stadium as well, and Shivank would agree with that. While Kohli was there, everyone in the stadium said, no one's getting up from their seats, not even to go to the bathroom to get a beer or anything. Let's not jinx him. Right?
Oh, so, put it this way. Even the Pakistani fans were like, we haven't won this game yet because Kohli's still playing. I had a few sitting right in front of me. We had a good conversation all throughout the game. And they were like, no, this game is far from done. The star player, the only star in this match, is still playing.
And I think that's sort of why that was such a masterful innings, because it was such a contrast. I guess the two innings that have in this tournament that have stood out for me, and they've both been during the two games we've discussed. Finn Allen first up against Aussie just blew them away, right? That was 15 or 16 balls, and he completely dismantled, as Kevin said, the much vaunted Aussie bowling attack. But Kohli's innings was almost like he was going through the gears, right? It was literally going from the first gear through to the fifth gear, and the way he paced that was just absolutely incredible.
I think first 15 balls he only had 11 runs or something. Sid, you might know the stats.
21 balls, 12 runs.
There you go. There you go.
You wouldn't have been able to do that without Hardik, right?
No, exactly.
And that's
Hardik to keep kind of going.
That's a brilliant supporting role that he played.
His timing was a bit off on the day, but it didn't necessarily matter too much because these guys played brilliantly.
It's funny when there was 29 of 9 balls and Hardik took a single. He wanted to come back for the second and Kohli stopped him.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, why? Just go for it. Hardik could hit him for a 6. And the next 2 balls, well, I think we just can't forget for quite a while.
Yeah.
Like, I have a reputation on this show for being a bit of a nerd, but honestly, like, it's been a week since the game. I still haven't figured out the physics and the biomechanics behind that shot.
No.
Maybe you need a bowler to explain it to you.
Yeah.
Please do. Please do.
That shot's actually right up there with like the helicopter shot from Dhoni in the World Cup. Like it's one of those shots. It's like, how the hell did you even play that? It's like, when players of that ilk play shots like that, you like cover your kids' eyes because you're like, don't watch that. Don't learn that. Don't ever try to do that again.
The thing with Dhoni shot, and I've read this in so many places. I said, because people watch the Dhoni shot so many times, they'll watch the Kohli shot as well so many times because, for what it was. But the difference is the Dhoni shot was the World Cup winning moment. If that shot wasn't hit, we would have still won the World Cup. But if this wasn't hit, we may have lost the game.
Yeah.
So how this shot actually came about, the ball, the length of the ball, the pressure, situation of the game. There's a lot more to the shot than just that, World Cup winning moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to understand the significance, and I agree with Shivank, technically that first 6 was probably better. And again, this is speaking as a bowler. I think the execution of that first 6 was magnificent. The second 6, yes, and Kohli said it himself. He doesn't know how he pulled it off. It was a bit freaky. But as you say, Sid, I think it was what that second 6 did for the remaining over, right? The absolute meltdown that we saw in the final over, the wide and the no ball.
Yeah.
I think all of that was because we saw 2 sixes off the last 2 balls
Of the sixes.
in the previous over. I think it was pretty much the game. I think came down to 2 key moments. The first one was that second 6, not the first one, because that really put the pressure on. And obviously, the huge moment was the
no
third
ball.
6 that he hit in that flurry off the no ball. That was basically what I think at that point the game was over. Right? It was just details after that, but the game was won at that point.
We say details.
It was 28 of 8 balls.
Yeah.
That was not an easy task, and they made those 2 sixes took a huge amount of pressure on that last over off. But Kevin,
so just touching back on those the 2 sixes. So from perspective of sitting there, and I've watched those 2 overs about 4 times in the last half day.
Only 4 times?
Only 4 times. I've restricted myself.
To rewatch that last over.
Those are
There's a lot
rookie
of
numbers, Kevin.
Kevin, I've watched it like 15 times, and I'm not even
in the last 2 days.
Oh, yeah,
All
okay,
right,
well, that makes sense.
In the last week, the number is too large.
Fair.
It was on replay while I was working during the week.
No, you were working while you were watching the replay.
Yeah, that's more accurate. But just there's a couple of things there to break down. Firstly, that back foot drive, I don't even know what you want to call it. Completely agree that it should not be coached. The second shot, though, the one where he flicked it off his pads for 6 while coming down the wicket, that's still a pretty difficult shot to do under pressure. Like, if you get that timing wrong, it would hit the pad, you may get a run, and then that's it. Like, he's gambling a lot on that shot. So that's, we brushed over it. It's not as good, but it's still spectacular.
It's also balance when you're moving forward to make sure because when you're hitting leg side and you're moving forward that much, it's easy to overbalance on that front foot and you kind of fall away.
Yeah.
End up just hitting the ball up.
Can we give kudos to Ashwin for firstly winning the game or actually drawing the game for them? Because he could have very easily done what DK did and, wild swing on a wide delivery and, it would have been basically curtains at that point.
I thought we agreed to not give any kudos to Chennai Super Kings players.
Yeah.
One thing you can always rely on Ashwin for is to play with the rules in mind and play to the rules.
And with game awareness.
Game awareness,
Game awareness, yeah.
So, I'll just add one last thing to those 2 sixes. The second one was obviously a very difficult shot, but it was easy because he got into Harris Raw's head.
Yeah.
He wanted him to ball there. The first one was difficult because Harris Raw wasn't expecting that he's going to get on the back foot. I don't know how he got that 84-meter 6 in Melbourne, but look, it was brilliant. But the next one, he made him bowl where he wanted him to bowl.
And that's the hallmark of a good batsman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once Harris Raw bowled that ball, you could see his facial expression. Shit, what have I done? That's going for 6. And Kohli is a strong bottom-handed player. He was always going to flick it for 6.
Yeah.
So, he just got into his head. And Harris Raw made such a big statement before the game. This is my home ground. I play for Melbourne, I don't know, Stars or whoever he plays for.
Stars,
I know the conditions well. So, it's up my alley. Well.
Yeah, well.
And he started well. He started well. He bowled well first few overs.
He is one of the best T20 bowlers, definitely, no doubt about it. But, this is the thing. You don't go out and actually make such statements before a big game.
That too when, Virat Kohli is in the opposition camp and he lives and breathes for somebody to make a statement like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So be humble in whatever you do.
So this also leads us really nicely to the topic that came up later on in the week and something we all discovered together that we didn't know about, and that was the Pak Bean. And the hatred for the man from Zimbabwe, how much Zimbabwe hate Pakistan for the existence of Pak Bean, and their revenge in beating Pakistan as well.
If they thought they were getting $10 tickets for the original Mr. Bean, I think Zimbabwe. I blame Zimbabwe for that.
Hey! Their currency has gone through a lot. They probably don't know what $10 is worth now.
That's true.
But
As bad as I feel for them.
And it was interesting. The impression I got watching the Zimbabwe-Pakistan game was Pakistan were just mentally, they were just jarred. You could see whenever, and again, it was at multiple points. We won't go through this in much detail, but I counted about 3 different points at which Zimbabwe put Pakistan under serious pressure, and they completely collapsed every time. It was like those 2 sixes were being replayed in their head every single time the pressure came on.
There's also Pakistan's fielding that came back as well to haunt them.
Here's something interesting I found out about Pakistan versus Zimbabwe matches. It's called Ashes 2.0.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I guess from now on it's going to be called the Pak Bean Cup.
Because they had played so many close games, there was a game, I think it was last year, where Zimbabwe scored 118 and Pakistan was bowled out for 99.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
apparently they said this is the next big, rivalry in the world cricket. Ashes 2.0.
But,
That's amazing.
all said and done, a part of me is happy that the game that we saw at the MCG was at the MCG and not at Perth Stadium. Because the outcome would have been very different at Perth Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And like going with the minnows as well, and we spoke about the minnows coming into the tournament, going with Zimbabwe beating Pakistan and creating that, like, now Pakistan on the verge of potentially missing out on in the Super 6, and also then Ireland, the game smarts to outplay England and the rain.
yeah.
Personally, I think it's been and look, I would have done it anyway, but I think these games being really, really close it gave me a really good excuse to watch every single game, because the games have been absolutely brilliant. The minnows, I think, to me, when compared to previous tournaments, you sort of had a case of the smaller teams having 1 or 2 good players, and the bigger teams could go after those players and get them out. I think what we're seeing now from the Dutch, we spoke about Zimbabwe, Ireland, is the way they manage the games. We've seen multiple times where they've lost wickets early, like New Zealand, Sri Lanka, where it was basically you lose wickets early, you consolidate, and then you go for it at the end. I think we're seeing some really, really smart cricket from the so-called smaller teams.
Yeah. And I think you couldn't have that tightness without the pitches that they've been playing on.
100%.
Huge impact.
100%.
150, 160 chaseable targets. We've had the one outlier we've previously spoken about, but apart from that, it's been fantastic pitches all around. The only issue has been the rain, and it was one part of the conversation that I don't quite understand why the MCG, which is a cricket ground, does not have a roof with Melbourne weather. It's,
in Melbourne, there's a stadium down the road from the MCG
Marvel
that
Stadium.
does have a retractable
I was going to
roof.
say that. Apparently, it's raining in Perth right now as we speak, and they have the match stopped. It'd be brilliant if it gets washed out. That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You could not make this up.
No, the wooden
you
spoon
can't.
stays with the deserving candidates in that case.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that the weather's been a bit of a shocker. Absolutely. I don't know if the scheduling's right. And MCG is a brilliant stadium, but you don't want England-Australia clash to be washed out.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a blockbuster game.
Yeah.
And that's probably ICC also losing out on a lot of money because of that as well.
Second
all
biggest
kinds
game.
of revenues.
Second biggest game after India Pakistan.
Again, I'm not. It's not so much the rain. I think we're seeing, and we can thank climate change for this, but we're seeing irregular weather everywhere across the globe, right? You could have had this anywhere and you'd have funny weather. I think given the unpredictability and the nature of cricket, the really disappointing thing I think has been having the two games in the same stadium. If I'm not mistaken, it was England, Ireland, and that was going to be followed by New Zealand, Afghanistan. And I can see where they're going. I can see where they're going with the double headers and the crowd and everything. But it's the fact that if one of them gets rained out, the other one is also going to get rained out. And it's just what cricket is, right? And I don't know, not sure what you guys think, but I think we could have de-risked this whole thing.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same thing, Gurpreet, last week when I thought a lot of games happening, back to back at the same ground doesn't make much sense to me. You could have played, New Zealand, Afghanistan at the Marvel Stadium. I don't know if it's still called Marvel Stadium, whatever that's called.
Yeah, Marvel.
You can close the roof. You can play the game. Like it's 2022. Yeah. We figured out everything other than DRS calls. We still haven't figured out how to play if it's raining.
We still haven't figured out how Kohli hit that second six.
Well, that's
that might be. We might just need to concede on that one. Probably not going to figure that one out.
No, I think we'll leave it. Yeah, we'll give it a pass.
Maybe Bhavesh, the president of the Bowlers Club, maybe, and the pilot. Maybe he's done the right sort of physics to sort of figure that one out for us.
And talking about drama and the tight finishes, like the Nagin dance is still on, right? Like, because after the drama, I think the India-Pakistan final over could have been more dramatic if it ended the way the Zimbabwe-Bangladesh final ball ended, with all the players walking off and the umpire standing in the middle with his arm out saying no ball, and everyone just going, like movie style, like, oh my God, what happened? Quick, run back on the field.
Yeah. But he just forgot the
and then just swinging and missing the ball.
Well, yeah, that was more anticlimax. But basics of the game, a wicket keeper, collect the ball behind the stumps.
Yep.
That's the number one thing.
First thing you're taught, really.
Yep. We were actually, me and Bhavesh were watching the India-Pakistan game together, and we noticed that happened with one of the dismissals. I can't remember who it was.
It was a stumping. It was,
but
no, it was a run.
It was a stumping.
No, it was a run out.
No, it was a run out. It was a run out of Akshar Patel.
Yep.
Where he didn't have the ball in the hand.
Yeah. Oh no, not the ball in the hand. There was actually another one. It
was the free hit one.
It was a stumping. Yeah. What happened was the keeper actually his hands went past the stumps to grab the ball. But I think that's one of those caveats where because it's hit the batsman.
Yes, it hit the batsman. So he's allowed to do it. Yes.
Yep. This is the DK wicket, right?
DK wicket, the last over.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Which was a massive brain fade in that moment. And it was like the twist. There's a cherry on top in that situation.
That was a wide, actually. That's exactly the ball Ashwin left.
Ashwin left.
That's exactly right,
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of Ashwin, I'm sort of glad he didn't listen to Kohli, because Kohli was like, make space and hit it over covers and match is over. And Ashwin's like, you know what? Leave this to me. I got this.
Yeah.
Who was in the T20, the IPL T20 final? Ashwin. So, he's got a bit of experience playing. And, he thinks a little bit ahead. We spoke a bit before about him, with the low crouched position, getting ready for the
headbutting the ball.
Actually, that's really interesting point you raised there, Kevin, because it was a spinner bowling to Ashwin, so he probably had him completely figured out. But what do you guys make of the whole thing of having the spinner bowl the 20th over? Was that tactically a big screw up?
So it depends who you ask. Yeah, I'm not in favor of Shadab bowling the last over. Was it Shadab? Was it Nawaz?
It was Nawaz.
It was Nawaz.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I was not in favor of Nawaz bowling the last over, given he's never bowled a death over in his life.
It comes down to captaincy, Gurpreet, and I think Baba's captaincy hasn't been up to the mark. He had, I think he bet the game on the 19th over, that the game will finish in the 19th over. So if Nawaz has to defend, say, 25 in the last over, probably doable. Maybe get set for a couple of sixes, 3 sixes at best. 18-20, still win the game. He didn't have a plan B. what if that doesn't come through the 19th over?
And who was, I mean, I don't think anyone in the crowd or anyone watching was picking that Kohli would get 2 sixes off those last 2 balls because, to be honest, they were very close to going to that last over needing 25.
But still, though, you just, when you know that it's Virat Kohli and Hardik Pandya who are batting, not having a plan B is outright stupid.
Yeah.
And I would even say, look, and this was the exact conversation we were having in this car. But what I was saying was, if it's 20 off the last with Nawaz bowling, India still have a chance. As it turned out, it was 16, right? So they were, I would say 16 off 6, the pendulum had well and truly swung at that point, as we've discussed with those T6s. But say there was 2 boundaries or there was only the 1 6 and they needed 20. I would still say when you've got your spinner, and look, again, this hasn't been brought up as much as I would have liked, but he had him bowling medium pace, right? So it wasn't like he was bowling how he normally does. He had him bowling medium pace to stump to stump, right? And it's, I think tactically that was a big screw up.
You want to know of another screw up? Rizwan standing back to him.
100%.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah. Look, like in context though, Nawaz didn't bowl that badly. He got Hardik out on that first ball with a reasonably good quality delivery. He did make some mistakes in between, but I think it's, as you were saying, Gurpreet, the game was already in favor of India before it got to him. And that was a huge part of how that would have worked. Like if Baba was betting on Haris Rauf to finish it off in that 19th over, he didn't do that. And that put Nawaz in basically an untenable situation, really. And he still bowled really well. We got to give him credit. He got 2 wickets. They still had a chance in the second last ball.
And then basically comes down to like the no balls and the wides. Like that's on Nawaz. Like he shouldn't have been bowling no balls and wides.
Yeah, and look,
off the same ball,
Kevin, you're right. Like, I think from a captaincy perspective, all I can imagine saying to a bowler in that last over, especially when the situation was 16 off 5, and then I think it was 13 off 3, was don't bowl a wide or no ball, and he did both of those things, right? and maybe that's not so much on the captain.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Hell of a
game, to his defense, he could say if Afridi and what's his name, the one who bowled the 19th over, they've given 16 each, so I've done 16 as well. Haris Rauf, so he hasn't gone any worse.
Shaheen Afridi actually hasn't bowled as well in this tournament. I think he only got his first wicket in
today. That's true.
Today,
But then we also have to remember he's not fit. Like he's being rushed back into this tournament because guess what? He had everybody's number in the last one. And this is a pitch meant for bowlers like, these are pitches meant for a bowler like him.
Yeah, I don't think that's an excuse though. Like,
no, it's not an excuse.
No,
it's not an excuse.
Gents, with a lot of games still coming up around the horizon, there's India, South Africa still to look forward to. England, New Zealand. It seems like a lot of the semi-final spots are coming now into real contention. We have Pakistan, South Africa. That might be a do or die game. It might be just a passenger game where Pakistan try to disrupt South Africa's net run rate. But there's a lot more of this tournament still left, and let's leave it at that and let's enjoy the rest of this tournament. So, guys, thank you for your time and all your thoughts and opinions this week. If you want to get sports nerdy with the team, you can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at the Backpass Pod. We'll be back next week with more sports analysis and banter right here on the Backpass.